There is a law as reliable and as old as gravity itself that most people will go their entire lives without ever truly understanding. And it's a shame, because once you understand it, once you really see it, you can never quite look at your own life the same way again. The law is this: you attract what you appreciate, not what you want, not what you need, not what you desperately chase at 2 in the morning when sleep won't come. What you appreciate. Now think about that for a moment. I've spoken to a great many people over the years, and I've noticed something that never stops amazing me. 2 people can be standing in virtually the same circumstances, the same neighborhood, roughly the same income. Similar families, and one of them will tell you life is pretty good, and the other will tell you everything is falling apart. Same world. 2 completely different experiences of it. How is that possible? Here's the key. It isn't the world that's different. It's what each person is focused on inside that world. The great philosopher Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who had more real power than most men in history, wrote in his private journal words that have echoed through 20 centuries. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. He wasn't talking about positive thinking as a parlor trick. He was talking about a fundamental principle of human existence. What a man dwells on, he creates more of. What a man appreciates, he draws toward himself. And what a man ignores or resents, well, those things have a way of multiplying too. Now let me tell you something. Imagine a farmer. He's got good land, rich soil. He has seeds in his hand and sun overhead and water in the creek nearby. But every morning he walks out to his field and he does the same thing. He counts what isn't there yet. He measures the gap between where the ground is and where the harvest should be. He worries about what the field is lacking. He lies awake at night, cataloging everything that could go wrong. You know what happens to that farmer? He forgets to plant, and then he wonders why nothing grows. Most of us are that farmer. We walk through our days running a mental inventory of everything we don't have yet. The savings account that isn't full enough. The recognition that hasn't come. The relationship that isn't quite right. The health we used to have. We become so focused on the empty rows that we never notice the extraordinary richness of the soil beneath our feet. And here's the strange part. The part I want you to really sit with. The act of noticing what you already have doesn't just make you feel better. It actually changes what comes next. Gratitude isn't simply a pleasant emotion. It is a force. It is a signal you send out, a frequency, if you will, that draws more of the same toward you. Ralph Waldo Emerson said it beautifully. He said, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." And what do the people who seem to attract good things think about all day long? They think about what's working. They think about what they're grateful for. They acknowledge what they have before they ask for what they want. This is not a coincidence. Out of every 100 people I've observed over a lifetime of studying human nature, I'd say fewer than 5, maybe 5, have made a genuine daily practice of gratitude. And those 5? They are, almost without exception, the ones who seem to have more opportunity, more joy, more resilience when things go wrong, more warmth from the people around them, more, somehow, of everything that matters. The other 95, they're still waiting, still saying, "I'll be grateful when the raise comes, when the kids are grown, when the mortgage is paid, when things settle down a little." But here's what I want you to hear. When never comes for those people. Because gratitude is not a response to abundance. Gratitude is the cause of it. I remember a time, I was a young man, and I was struggling the way young men do, when I genuinely believed that the people who had good lives had simply gotten lucky. They'd been born into the right family, or caught the right break, or been standing in the right place when fortune turned around and smiled. Then I started studying. I started reading everything I could find about the men and women throughout history who had built extraordinary lives, many of them starting from nothing. And I noticed something. Every single one of them, every last one, had a peculiar relationship with what they already possessed. They weren't naive. They weren't pretending problems didn't exist, but they had this deep, almost stubborn appreciation for whatever they had in hand right now. A warm room, a clear mind, a good idea, a single friend who believed in them. They didn't discount it. They magnified it. William James, the great American psychologist, a man who spent his whole life trying to understand why some people flourish and others don't, said this: "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes. Alter their attitudes, not their bank accounts, not their address, not their connections, their attitudes." That was the lever. And of all the attitudes available to a human being, none is more powerful, none is more immediately transformative than the simple, genuine act of saying, "I am grateful for this, right now, today." Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed that generous people seem to attract generosity? That warm people seem to attract warmth? That the man who speaks well of his work tends to find more opportunity in that work, while the man who complains about his job tends to find more to complain about. This is the law in action. We call it different things in different traditions. Some call it the law of attraction. Some call it karma. Some simply call it the harvest principle. Every major religion in human history has pointed toward it. To him who has, more will be given. That's not a promise for the wealthy. It's a description of a spiritual and psychological law that operates whether you believe in it or not. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to hold you to the earth. And you don't have to believe in this law for it to shape your life. It's shaping it right now, today, whether you're aware of it or not. The question is simply this: are you working with it or against it? The person working with it wakes up in the morning and, before the day pulls them in 14 directions, takes a quiet moment. And in that moment, they deliberately notice a roof over their head, someone who loves them, work that needs doing, coffee that's hot, sunlight or rain, either one. They find it, they feel it, and they send it forward into their day like a ship that leaves harbor with a clear destination. That ship knows where it's going. The other ship, the one that leaves with no clear destination, loaded down with worry and complaint and the weight of everything that isn't right, that ship drifts. And a drifting ship, as I've said many times, is at the mercy of every wind and every current. It ends up wherever the world sends it, which is usually not where anyone would choose to go. Most people are losing something every single day, and they don't even know it's happening. It's quiet. It's invisible, and it doesn't announce itself. It simply works against you, steadily, the way a slow leak works against a tire. You don't notice it until you're already on the rim. Here's what's happening. Every time you look at your life and feel that low hum of dissatisfaction, that sense that things aren't quite enough yet, that you're still behind, still short, still waiting for the moment when things finally click into place, in that very moment, you are pushing away the exact abundance you are hoping to attract. You are not neutral when you feel that way. You are actively working in the wrong direction, and most people spend years there, decades even, telling themselves that the gratitude, the appreciation, the real sense of richness, that all comes after the promotion, after the debt is cleared, after the children are settled, after things calm down a little. So they wait. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Seasons change. Years stack up. And the curious, almost heartbreaking thing is the after never quite arrives. Because the man who cannot find something to appreciate today will find it very difficult to appreciate tomorrow, no matter what tomorrow brings. The habit of waiting becomes the habit of a lifetime. Now here is the truth. That changed everything for me. And I believe it will change something for you too, if you'll sit with it for a moment. The tide does not return to the shore because the shore demands it. The tide returns because that is the nature of the ocean. And abundance, real abundance, the kind that includes not just money but peace and opportunity and the sense that life is genuinely working, does not flow toward demand. It flows toward appreciation. This is what Emerson understood, what Marcus Aurelius practiced in the quiet of his private journals, what every great teacher in every great tradition has pointed toward in one form or another for as long as human beings have been writing things down. What you genuinely appreciate, what you truly specifically, consciously give thanks for, that thing grows. Not as poetry, not as metaphor, as an operating principle of human life, the returning tide. That's what gratitude is. It goes out, as all tides do, when you take things for granted, when you focus on the gap, when you decide that what you have isn't quite worth noticing yet, and it comes back reliably and fully the moment you turn around and say, this. Right here, this is something. You don't need more before you can begin to appreciate. You need to appreciate before more can begin to come. The tide is already turning. The only question is whether you'll be standing at the shore to meet it. There is something quietly tragic happening in millions of lives right now. And the tragedy isn't poverty. It isn't bad luck. It isn't even poor decisions, though those play their part. The real tragedy is this. People are standing in the middle of a field rich enough to feed them for a lifetime, and they are starving. Not because the field is empty, but because they never learned to look at what's actually growing there. They walk out every morning and they do the same thing. They scan the horizon for what isn't there yet. They measure the distance between where they are and where they think they ought to be. They count the empty rows. And by the time evening comes, they are exhausted, not from working the land, but from cataloging everything the land has failed to produce. So they go to bed tired and vaguely hollow. And they wake up and do it again. This goes on for years. For some people, it goes on for a lifetime, always preparing to appreciate, always getting ready to be grateful, always one season away from finally feeling that what they have is worth noticing. And the field, that beautiful, patient, extraordinarily fertile field, just sits there, waiting. Now, let me tell you something that I want you to really hear. The farmer who never looks at his field doesn't just feel bad. He actually produces less, because attention is not passive. Attention is agricultural. Where you place your focus, you place your energy. And where you place your energy, things grow, or they don't. The farmer who walks his land with appreciation, who notices the dark richness of the soil, who feels the weight of a healthy seed in his palm, who looks at what is there with genuine wonder, that farmer plants differently. He tends differently. He harvests differently. Not because the land is different, because he is different. William James, one of the finest minds America has ever produced, spent decades studying this very thing. And he concluded that the most powerful tool available to any human being is the ability to shift what they habitually notice, to redirect attention, to choose, consciously and daily, what the mind will dwell on. That choice, that simple, quiet, daily choice, is the difference between the farmer who harvests and the farmer who goes hungry on fertile ground. Your life right now, today, is that field. There are things growing in it that you have walked past 100 times without stopping. Relationships that are quietly extraordinary, abilities you treat as ordinary because you've had them so long. Small dignities and daily gifts that have become invisible simply because they've been there every morning when you woke up. They are there. They are real. They are enough to build something magnificent. But first, you have to stop walking past them. Look at your field. Really look at it. What you find there may astonish you. There is a man I want you to think about for a moment. He isn't famous. He isn't wealthy by the world's usual measuring sticks. He doesn't drive the newest car or live in the biggest house on the street. But here's what's curious about this man, and I've met versions of him more times than I can count over the years. Wherever he goes, Things seem to work out for him. Opportunities find him. People want to help him. And somehow, quietly and steadily, his life keeps expanding while other men with more advantages and sharper ambitions, seem to stay exactly where they are. What does this man have that the others don't? Most people looking at him from the outside would say luck. They'd say connections. They'd say he must have started with something the rest of us didn't get. But that's not it. That's never it. And here's what I've observed, really observed, about the man who seems to always end up with more. He has made peace with what he already has, not resignation, not defeat, not the quiet surrender of a man who has given up wanting things. Something altogether different. He has looked at his life, at the real specific details of it, and he has said, genuinely, without performance, this is enough to work with. This is something. And that single internal posture changes everything that follows. Now, most people are doing the precise opposite. They have decided somewhere along the way, so gradually they never notice the decision being made, that appreciation is a reward, that gratitude is what you feel after the good thing arrives. So they withhold it. They hold it in reserve, like a prize they'll award themselves once they've finally earned the right to feel satisfied. And they keep holding it, and holding it. And the good things keep not arriving in the way they imagined. And the withholding goes on. Here's what I want you to understand, and this is the very heart of it. The man who says, I have enough, is not being passive. He is not settling. He is operating in alignment with one of the oldest and most reliable laws of human experience. Every great tradition, every serious student of human nature, from Marcus Aurelius to Emerson, to the quiet wisdom inside every major scripture ever written, points toward the same conclusion. Sufficiency, the genuine felt sense of enough, is not the destination. It is the vehicle. The man who feels enough attracts more because his hands are open. His mind is open. He is not clenched around scarcity. And an open hand, as any farmer worth his salt will tell you, is the only hand that can receive a seed. You already have enough to begin, not enough to stop. Not enough to stop wanting or building or reaching. Enough to be genuinely, quietly, powerfully grateful. And that right there is where more begins. Something is being stolen from you right now, not by a person, not by the economy, not by circumstances. Those circumstances get blamed for it constantly. Something far more subtle than any of those things is quietly reaching into your life every single day and taking from you the one thing that, if you had it fully and consciously, would change virtually everything else. It's taking your attention, and the thief has a name. The thief is the habit, and it is a habit, make no mistake about that, of focusing on what is absent rather than what is present, of running, day after day, a mental inventory of everything that hasn't arrived yet, everything that went wrong, everything that falls short of where you imagined you'd be by now. Most people don't even know this is happening. It's automatic. It runs in the background like a machine that was switched on so long ago, nobody remembers turning it on. And it hums along quietly, hour after hour, day after day, directing the most powerful force in the human experience, the focused human mind, toward everything that is lacking. And then those same people wonder why more lacks. Here's what happens next, and I want you to follow this carefully, because this is precisely where most people lose years of their lives without understanding why they decide to do something about it. They set goals. They make plans. They work harder. And those are not bad things, not at all. But they are doing all of that with a mind that is still fundamentally tuned to scarcity, still cataloging the gap, still, underneath all the effort and ambition, operating from the quiet conviction that what they currently have is not enough to be grateful for. And so the effort goes out, real effort, genuine effort, and it returns less than it should, because the frequency it's being broadcast on is still the wrong one. Now here's the truth that William James gave us. And James was not a mystic or a dreamer. He was a rigorous scientist of the human mind. He said that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes, not their actions first. Their attitudes first. The attitude of gratitude, real, specific, conscious appreciation for what your life contains right now, today, is not a feeling you wait for. It is a decision you make. And when you make it, when you genuinely and deliberately redirect your attention toward what is present and good and working, something remarkable happens inside the human mind. It starts looking for more of the same. That is how attention works. That is how it has always worked. The mind finds what it is trained to look for. And the mind trained in genuine appreciation becomes, over time, a mind that sees opportunity where others see obstacles, possibility where others see walls, abundance where others have only ever seen lack. Your attention is not neutral. It is either working for you or against you. Point it deliberately. Point it with gratitude. And watch what it begins to find. There is a posture that closes a life. You've seen it. Maybe you've felt it yourself in those quiet moments when honesty creeps in and you notice it, a kind of internal bracing, a tightening around what you have, born not from contentment, but from a deep, unnamed unease that what you have might disappear, that it isn't secure, that if you relax your grip even slightly, something important will slip away. And so a person goes through their days clenched, clenched around their money, clenched around their relationships, clenched around their plans and their expectations and their carefully constructed sense of how life is supposed to go. And that clenching feels from the inside like prudence, like responsibility, like the reasonable behavior of a serious person in an uncertain world. But here's what it actually is. It is the single most effective way to guarantee that nothing new can enter your life. A clenched fist cannot receive a gift. That is not poetry. That is physics. And the same principle that governs the hand governs the mind and the heart. The person who is contracted around scarcity, who moves through their days gripping tightly and appreciating nothing, has effectively closed the door through which abundance enters. They have locked it from the inside. And then they stand there wondering why nothing good seems to find its way in. This goes on for a long time in most lives. The gripping continues. The unease continues. And because nothing much changes, because the clenched life produces clenched results, the anxiety deepens. And the deeper the anxiety, the tighter the grip. And the tighter the grip, the less can enter. It is a circle. And most people never find the exit. Now let me tell you where the exit is. It is not in acquiring more. It is not in achieving the next thing or reaching the next level or finally arriving at the place where you feel secure enough to relax. I have known men who reached every goal they set and were still clenched, still braced, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. The exit is in the open hand. George Bernard Shaw understood something profound about the human condition. He believed that people who got on in this world were not the ones who waited for the right circumstances. They were the ones who brought a certain quality of spirit to whatever circumstances they found themselves in. And that quality, at its core, was an openness, a willingness to engage fully with what was actually there. Gratitude is the open hand. It is the conscious, deliberate act of unclenching, of looking at your life, your real, specific, imperfect, genuinely remarkable life, and saying, this is something, this matters, this is worth acknowledging. And the moment you do that, the moment the hand opens, something shifts, not eventually, not after a suitable waiting period. Now, the open hand receives, it always has, it always will. Open yours. Now, I want to say something important here, because I don't want you to misunderstand me. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending. It doesn't mean forcing a smile when your heart is heavy. It doesn't mean denying that real problems exist in your life, because they do. They exist in every life. Gratitude is not an act of self-deception. It's an act of selection. At any given moment, your mind is processing thousands of things. The ache in your shoulder, the bill on the counter, the way the light is coming through that window just now, the laugh of someone you love that you can still hear in your memory, the skill in your hands that took years to build, the small, specific dignity of being alive on this particular day. Gratitude is simply the choice to select what is real and good and true, not instead of your challenges, but alongside them. And when you make that selection consistently, something shifts. Your mind starts to look for more of it. You start to see opportunities you were walking past. People respond to you differently. Your own energy changes. George Bernard Shaw put it this way: people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. He didn't believe in circumstances. He believed the people who got on in this world were the ones who made their circumstances. And if they couldn't find the circumstances they wanted, they made do magnificently with the ones they had. Gratitude is how you make do magnificently. I've seen a fellow with very little in terms of what the world counts, who somehow radiated a kind of richness. You'd leave a conversation with him feeling better than when you arrived. And I've seen men with every material advantage imaginable who couldn't seem to hold on to a moment of peace. The difference, every time, came down to this: what were they dwelling on? The open hand receives. The clenched fist keeps nothing. Here's what I'd like you to try. Not forever. Not as a lifelong commitment you have to make right now. Just for 30 days, starting today, starting this evening, or first thing tomorrow morning. Take 5 minutes. Just 5. And write down 5 things you are genuinely, specifically grateful for. Not I'm grateful for my family. That's too easy, too automatic. Get specific. I'm grateful that my daughter called me last Tuesday and told me about her day. I'm grateful that I still have the use of my hands and that I built something with them this week. I'm grateful for the fact that somewhere in my life, right now, there is a person who would come if I called. Find the real ones. Feel them even for a moment. Do this every day for 30 days. Don't skip. Don't be vague. And at the end of 30 days, look back at your list and then look at your life, at what has changed in ways you may not have planned for. I suspect you'll find, as so many others have found, that something in your world has quietly shifted. Not because the world rearranged itself, but because you rearranged yourself, and the world, as it always does, began to respond. There's an old saying that's been passed down for thousands of years through more cultures and more languages than I can count. It goes something like this: the thankful heart is always close to the riches of the universe. I believe that. I believe it because I've seen it proven over and over in ordinary lives, not in the lives of great men and women in history books, but in the lives of real people, in real houses, on real streets, who made one simple, daily decision to notice what they had before asking for more. That's where it begins, not with a plan, not with a strategy, not with ambition or effort or clever maneuvering. It begins with 5 quiet minutes and a heart that is willing to say, what I have right now is enough to build something beautiful. Start there. Tonight, that's where everything good begins.